Greetings and welcome. We are now about to introduce T.S. Eliot's Wasteland. However, before we go there, I want to briefly outline the great Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach. Now, the reason that I'm doing this will become only evident as we get into this poem. I'm not going to be able to engage in a full lengthy exegesis of this poem. For that, you can consult Learn Strong. There is a lecture there posted. But I at least want us to be able to get some sense of this classic text, Dover Beach. Now, first of all, for your notes, let's begin by making some observations about English typography, geography. England is a strange little island. The way that it sits on its eastern side faces France. Of course, the water in between England and France we call the English Channel. When you come to the eastern side of England, there is a part of it called Dover Beach. These white cliffs that just jet straight up into the air, hundreds and hundreds of feet, and at the very top, beautiful lush green grass that goes right to the literal edge of the cliffs. For those of you who actually can remember that moment in Shakespeare's King Lear when the old man Gloucester is going to go and commit suicide because now he is blinded and he knows where he's going to go to commit suicide. He's going to go to the cliffs of Dover. Are you ready for this? The cliffs of Dover are in England where you got to do two things. One, commit suicide, because, dude, once you jump off that cliff, you ain't coming back. It's over. But the second, more intriguing, they're little huts that are built at the top of the cliffs of Dover, and that's where people go for honeymoons. That's absolutely right. If you want to celebrate your wedding, you go to the top of the cliffs of Dover as well. So I suppose it could be, you know, if you have any buyer's remorse, you can have a 2-for-1, if you will. I'm not going to get into that, though, you see. Now, let's talk about beaches real carefully, because I teach in a place where most of you don't know about beaches. Okay, so let's talk about that. There are two kinds of beaches, and I suppose I'm giving you some intel as you get ready to travel that you can know about. There are two kinds of beaches. The first kind of beach is the one that most of you are probably familiar with. It's the beach where there's sand. So, for example, those of you who have been to most of the beaches of Hawaii are probably familiar with these beautiful sandy beaches where Schreiber says, I would like to be there right now, lying in the sun where it's supposed to be a balmy 89 today, you see. That's sandy beaches. And the waves, when they hit a sandy beach, have a really kind of beautiful muffled sound, okay? For those of you that have ever enjoyed that kind of beach, you know what I'm talking about. There's a second kind of beach, though, that most of you are not very familiar with, maybe, because it's not really the kind of beach where you go to visit. It's a beach of rock. Rock is totally different kind of beach. Most people, of course, can't lay on rock, and so they don't frequent rock as a form of vacationing. However, rock, whether it be, for example, in several of our islands of Hawaii, have these kinds of beaches, right? Or the Mediterranean has these kinds of beaches a lot. Rock, totally different sound. When the water hits the rock, it moves the rocks back and forth and they move against each other. It makes a very different kind of sound. It is not the sound of sandy beaches at all. Are you ready for this? At the bottom of the cliffs of Dover, the rock is what the beach is. So that when the water hits that rock, it reverberates up those wall faces that are you ready for this? Pure white, chalky white. This is what makes the cliffs of Dover so famous. They are white cliffs. All right? Now to the piece itself, Dover Beach. Arnold precurses, in many ways, T.S. Eliot and Yeats's vision of a world changing. I'll say that again because it's so important for your notes. Arnold, in many ways, is the prophetic voice that says something is wrong in England, and by extension, the rest of the world. It would only be a matter of time when Schreiber took away Sherman's opportunity of a job in our shoe factory story. And maybe it would be Sherman's young boy, would grow up to be a poet and try to qualify the changing experience that was then ultimately England's economic plight. And in the process of doing so, Matthew Arnold writes what many call one of the most disturbing love songs or love poems of all time. Are you ready for this? 2B. We're back to a dramatic monologue again. We will have a single speaker in a dramatic context, not unlike Porphyra's Lover, not unlike Last Duchess. Let's read the poem real quickly. Again, I'm on page 1036, Dover Beach. The sea is calm tonight, the tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet as the night air, only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling at the return up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin with tremulance cadence low, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another. For the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. It is not unusual, when talking about the work of T.S. Eliot, especially Wasteland, to reference Dover Beach. Let's exegete now quickly. By the way, I believe that this is some of the work that comes in our packet of today, or was that last week's packet? Okay, let's talk about it real quickly. And again, now you're just referencing in relationship to your T.S. Eliot work. Notice in the beginning of the poem, the speaker of the poem will say several things where we know where we are at Dover Beach. The sea is calm. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. And then, of course, across the channel on the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of Dover stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. And then line 6. Come to the window, sweet as the night air. Who is the speaker and to whom is he speaking? Can you guess?
The guy to his girl.
Guy's talking to his girl. What does it mean, Anderson, that the guy says to his girl, come over to the window, girlfriend. It's really nice outside.
She's not next to him.
Yeah. In relationship to what's going on, she is distanced from him in some way, which makes for a very interesting love song right from the start. Hey, girlfriend, it's really nice outside, beautiful and calm. Come over to the window with me and look at how pretty it is outside, how beautiful it is outside. Line 7. Only, sometimes women say, I know a guy like this or two. Everything's great, and then the word only gets used. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen, you hear the grating roar. What does the word grating mean? Up or down? Good or bad? Grating. If a sound is grating, it's yucky. Hey, girlfriend, come over to the window. It's beautiful outside. Well, with the exception of the sound of that ocean, that's grating. I don't like that nasty sound coming up from the beach down below, coming up the cliffs of Dover where I'm standing, and I'm asking you to come over to the window. Then all of a sudden we have a break, and we realize that our speaker has done a little academic work. He will reference Sophocles. Don't confuse with Socrates. Sophocles, the great tragedian who wrote, of course, Oedipus Rex and Antigone. That cat. That's who he references, and he says, you know, the sound of the water on the beach reminds me of the great dramaticist Sophocles. What'd he have to say? Well, look at it. Now, second stanza. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean. Heard what on the Aegean? The Aegean is the Mediterranean. What did he hear? That sound. That sound of the rocks, a rocky beach. Sophocles, he also, because many of the beaches of the Mediterranean are in fact rocky beaches, Sophocles heard it long ago and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. What is misery? Good or bad? Bad. Hey, girlfriend, come over to the window. It's beautiful outside. Well, with the exception of the sound of the water on the beach, which kind of reminds me, Sophocles said every time he heard the beach, he reminded himself that life sucks, that all of life is nothing more than misery. Come over to the window and listen while we listen to the ocean remind us what Sophocles said about how life sucks because of the nasty sound. Notice he says, we find also in it the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. In other words, now he's like, come to think of it, it's not a very nice night at all outside. Stanza 3. And it's about this time that the astute reader of this poem goes, whoa, 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 this ain't no love song at all. I just got set up. And by the time you get to the third stanza, you kind of start to figure it out because the S and the F are both capitalized. I'm teaching you how to read here. The S and the F are both capitalized, so we don't want to miss it. Take a look at it. The sea of faith. It's possible no stanza more important in the life of T.S. Eliot in his younger life than this stanza. Take a look at what he says. The sea of faith was once two at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. The sea of faith was once two at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. Now wait a minute, what is a girdle? Are you familiar with this term? Women of old used to wear what's called a girdle. Are you familiar with it? They called for a few years in football what men wore a girdle, but the men stopped wearing them because they were called a girdle and assigned to women. A girdle is nothing more, however, than a device that fits around the waist to hold everything in and secure. Go back and look at it again. We've been talking first about the sea that is at the bottom of the cliffs of Dover. It's got a nasty sound. Then we are talking about the Aegean Sea, where Sophocles says reminds me of human misery. The third sea ain't no sea. Capital S, capital F. The sea of faith was once two at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled.
They're supported by faith.
There was a time, Arnold says, when everyone had the capacity to believe. And that ability to believe, especially to believe in religion, that ability to believe kept the people, the English people, safe. Only now, so you can finish this and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this ain't no love poem. This is a statement by Arnold about what's wrong with our culture. Only now, see what he says, all I hear is its, look at the adjective, melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear, and naked shingles of the world. Put it in your own words. His view of the modern existence is good or bad? Really bad. But why? Why? What is it that's missing? What has left us, for Arnold's sake? What has left us? The capacity to have faith. What does that mean? Faith means what? What does that mean, guys? What is faith? Put it in a word. If you have faith in something, what does that mean?
Something hoped for but not seen.
You can not see it, but you believe that it's there. That we call faith, right? Arnold says, we used to be able to do this thing called faith. Not anymore. It's all gone. Last stanza. The most brutal word picture in all of poetry, if you understand how to read it. Ah, love. We're back to the first stanza. Girlfriend. Ah, love. Let us be true to one another. For the world which seems to lie before us, like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new. The world seems like an amazing place where everything is great. That's how it seems. What is it really like? Let's put it in our notes. T.S. Eliot will be highly influenced by these lines. This is what the world is really like. Take a look. It hath really neither joy. There ain't no joy in the world, nor love, nor light. What does light mean? Does that mean we don't have fluorescent bulb yet? No. What does it mean to say we got no light in the world? What's that mean? No hope, we might say. Yeah, no hope. No certitude. Uh-oh, what's that one? Mr. Batson, what is certitude? If you have certitude, you are what? What's the word etymologically? Certitude comes from what word? Certain. In other words, to know for sure something. See, think about it. Sherman knew every morning he got up, he was certain he had a job. Anderson was his wife and knew every morning, we got this. This is fine. We're all taken care of. In one morning, their entire world gets kicked upside down. Do you think it's possible one of Sherman and Anderson's questions will be, how could God let this happen to us? See, the sea of faith was once too at the full, but not anymore. Now there's no certitude. Keep reading. There's no peace. There's no help for pain. And it's right about now. That astute readers of this poem go, oh, Arnold totally set me up. Hey, girlfriend, it's really beautiful. Come over to the window. Let's be true to one another. The world really is not anything like we think it to be. Really? What is the world? And now he uses the word picture of all word pictures. Imagine it for a moment. Mr. Doerr comes on the intercom and says, everybody to the gym. We're going to have the most amazing experience you've ever seen. Everyone from the entire school walks in. The freshmen are down on the gym floor. On one side are the girls, on the other side are the guys. All of that plastic that's used for prom has been put up so that it's blocking all potential sources of light, with the exception of the fluorescent lights that are at the top of the building. Doerr comes up to the middle of the floor, and he says, I'm about to give away $10,000 times a whole bunch of students. And all the seniors are like, whoa, 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 what's going on? He says, don't worry, this is a freshman gig. We're going to help them for college. This is what we're going to do. On one side are all the guys. On the other side are all the girls. When I blow the whistle, they're all going to run as fast as they can. The first group that can make it to the other side of the floor, all of them will receive $10,000 cash each. Ready, set, they're all ready to go. Go! And they take off, run, 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 run. 5 steps before the center of the floor. When they have hit full stride, the lights go out. The lights go out so dark, no one in the room can see anything. All you can do is hear. That is the word picture Arnold uses in his love story to describe the human existence of the modern era. Our love, let us be true to one another. This word picture not lost, by the way, on Eliot, who will write Wasteland. For the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new. We think of Kurtz, don't we, on his boat, or Marlowe on his boat, ready to go see Kurtz. It seems like it's going to be such an exciting voyage into the heart of the continent, right? It really, the world hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Let me explain to you, he says, what the world really is. It's like having a battle in the dark, where you just start slaughtering things, but you're in total darkness, and you see absolutely nothing. That is Matthew Arnold's assessment of the modern world. Now, that view is not lost on 2 writers, T.S. Eliot and James Joyce. Both of them will take this view and say, you know what? What's it like to live in a world like this? Where there's no certitude, where there's no joy, where there's no light. Are you ready for this? Because nobody can believe anymore in anything. It's not that we don't want to believe, it's that we can't believe. We want to believe badly, but we cannot do it anymore. For some reason, we can't make ourselves have full confidence. Which is why the speaker of Holloman doesn't want to go to the other side. The difference between you and your great-great-great-grandma was your great-great-great-grandma had the capacity for faith, belief. You are a skeptic by virtue of your time period. Think about what the atrocities of the 20th century did for certainty. What did 9/11 do to the entire country and world in regards to certainty? You would never get on a plane the same way again. Agreed? Never. It's not going to be the same ever again, is it? How hard is it? You get on a plane, it goes in the air, then it comes back down. Well, unless it doesn't. Right? Everything that's happened in the 20th century seems to kind of take us to this point where we're not sure about anything anymore. Everything is like a dice roll or a guess. In Holloman, the speaker, T.S. Eliot, is pointing out that the sea of faith is gone. Remember, he says, form prayers to broken stone. Right? Lips that should kiss form prayers to broken stone. We have no capacity anymore to really believe. It's all kind of lost on us. Now, to say that today is almost cliche-ish. But in 1922, it wasn't. There was still this really deep need to try to believe that the institutions of stability were there and were going to save us. In 1922, The Wasteland is published. Now, how do we address this poem? Well, I think the best way is to just listen to it. I do. I mean, for those of you that have tried to read it, you probably will say, really? How are you supposed to even read something like this? What I'm going to suggest to you is that your first exposure to Wasteland is really nothing more than a read, a listen. So I recommend now that you find your copy of Wasteland. Go ahead and go to it now. And we're going to just listen to this poem now to the end of the hour. Now I got to set you up to this reading, okay? And let me apologize in advance. I got two readings of Wasteland. The first one that we'll listen to is actually not T.S. Eliot. The first one that we'll listen to is a famous professor of poetry at Harvard. And I stumbled across this years ago, this reading, and it was on an old LP. Are you guys familiar with what that means? For many, many years, you listened to music on what was called vinyl. It was a circular thing that sat on a player, and then you had a needle that literally touched the surface of the vinyl as it spun around. If there was anything in one of the grooves of that, you would hear it. You're going to hear a recording of a vinyl reading of Wasteland. It's not a great recording, I apologize. But I can't find it anymore. It's now gone. I can't discover any more a better recording of this, so I just have you listen to a cassette recording of this vinyl reading. Several times there's a skip, and for that I apologize. But you'll be able to get a sense of this poem. Hey guys, all right now I want you to do is just to really focus and just read it. That's all you're doing, following it alone. Whatever you do, don't take your eyes off the words and start looking at the bottom, at the notes and all that. Don't look at any of that right now. No reason for it. Are you ready for this? Eliot publishes this poem without one footnote, without one endnote. He works off of the assumption that the reader can understand the poem. On the notes you have next to you, or even on that paper itself, I want you to start to make a little list of all the things you need to know to be able to read this poem and understand it. It's kind of like a puzzle. It was written as such. Please identify 5 parts. We won't finish the entire reading today. We'll pick up tomorrow when we come back. T.S. Eliot's Wasteland.
The Barrier of the Dead. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprised us coming over the Starnbergersee with a shower of rain. We stopped in the colonnade and went on in sunlight into the Hofgarten and drank coffee and talked for an hour. Bin gar keine Russin, stamm aus Litauen, Deutsch. And when we were children staying at the Archduke's, my cousin's, he took me out on a sled and I was frightened. He said, Mari, Mari, hold on tight. And down we went. In the mountains, there you feel free. I read much of the night and go south in the winter. What are the roots that clutch? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish? Son of man, you cannot say or guess, for you know only a heap of broken images where the sun beats, and the dead tree gives no shelter, the cricket no relief, and the dry stone no sound of water. Only there is shadow under this red rock. Come in under the shadow of this red rock, and I will show you something different from either your shadow at morning striding behind you, or your shadow at evening rising to meet you. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. Frisch weht der Wind der Heimat zu, mein irisch Kind, wo weilest du? You gave me hyacinths first a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl. Yet when we came back late from the hyacinth garden, your arms full and your hair wet, I could not speak, and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing. Looking into the heart of the night, the silence. Madame Sosostris, famous clairvoyante, had a bad cold. Nevertheless is known to be the wise pack of cards. Here, said she, is your card. Brown Phoenician silver. Those are pearls that met his eyes. Look. Here is Belladonna, lady of the rocks, the lady of situations. Here is the man with 3 staves, and here the wheel. And here is the one-eyed merchant. And this card, which is blank, is something he carries on his back, which I am forbidden to see. I do not find the hanged man. Fear death by water. I see crowds of people walking round in a ring. Thank you. If you see dear Mrs. Ecclestone, tell her I bring the horoscope myself. One must be so careful these days. Unreal city. Under the brown fog of a winter dawn, a crowd flowed over London Bridge. So many. I had not thought death had undone so many. Sighs, short and infrequent, were exhaled, and each man fixed his eyes before his feet, flowed up the hill and down King William Street, to where St. Mary Woolnoth kept the hours with a dead sound on the final stroke of 9. There I saw one I knew, and stopped him, crying, Stetson, you who were with me in the ships at Miley, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? Oh, keep the dog far hence, that's friend to men, or with his nails he'll dig it up again. You, hypocrite lector, ensembleur, mon frère. A game of chess. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on marble, where the glass held up by standards wrought with fruited vines from which a golden cupidon peeped out, another hid his eyes behind his wing, doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it, from satin cases poured in rich profusion. In vials of ivory and colored glass, unspotted, lurked a strange synthetic perfumes, unguent, powdered, or liquid, troubled, confused, and drowned the sense in odors. Stirred by the air that freshened from the window, these ascended in patterning the prolonged candle flame, flung their smoke into the lackey area, stirring the pattern on the coppered ceiling. Huge seawood fed with copper, burnt green and orange, framed by the colored stone, in which sad light a carved dolphin swam. Above the antique mantel was displayed, as though a window gave upon the silver scene, the change of Philomel by the barbarous king so wounded horse. Yet there the nightingale filled all the desert with inviolable voice, and still she cried, and still the world pursues, jug, jug, to 30 years. And other withered stumps of time were told on bones, staring forms leaned out, leaning, hushing the windows. Footsteps shuffled upstairs. Under the firelight, under the brush, her hair spread out in fiery points, glowed into words. Then the savage stilled. My nerves are bad tonight. Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak. What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? I never know what you are thinking. Think. I think we are in Rat's Alley, where the dead men lost their bones. What is that noise? Wind under the door. What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing, again. Do you know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? I remember those are pearls where reside. Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? Well, that Shakespearean rag. It's so elegant, so intelligent. Yeah, what shall I do now? What shall I do? I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down, so. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? Hot water, 10. And if it rains, a closed card, 4. And we shall play a game of chess, pressing lidless eyes, and waiting for a knock on the door. I said, I didn't mention the words, I said to listen. Hurry up, please, it's time. Now Albert's coming back, make yourself a little smart. You want to know what you've done with that money he gave you to get yourself some teeth. He did, I was there. And you have them all out, Lil, and get a nice set. He said, I swear I can't bear to look at you. And no more can't I said. Think of poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years. He wants a good time. And if you don't give it to him, there's others will, I said. Oh, is there, she said. Something of that, I said. Then I'll know who to thank, she said, and give me a straight look. Hurry up, please, it's time. You don't like it, you can get on with it, I said. Others can pick and choose if you can't. But if Albert makes off, it won't be for lack of telling. You ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so handsome. And her I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face. It's them pills I took to bring it on, she said. She's had 5 already and nearly died of young girl. Kelly said it'd be all right, but I've never been the same. You are a proper fool, I said. Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, there it is, I said. What do you get married for if you don't want children? Hurry up, please, it's time. Well, that Sunday, Albert was